to fund these piecemeal bills would give Ted Cruz a veto power over what is funded and what isn't. Ted Cruz came up with this strategy: shut down the whole government, and then we'll pick a few pieces and let you fund them.
Well, that's some tough talk there from New York Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer this week, taking aim at Republican Senator Ted Cruz about efforts from the GOP to separately restore funding to some areas of the government, like our nation's parks. Most of those attempts passed in the House, but died in the Senate, with the Majority Leader Harry Reid refusing to bring those bills to a vote. So is this simply a blame game rooted in politics or principle? Joining us now with some thoughts on all this, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. Welcome. Great to have you here in our studios today.
Good to be with you.
You know, is it any wonder the public sees this back and forth, this blame game going on both sides, and really says, we've had enough of business as usual?
They are saying that, and I can understand it.
Where do we go from here at this point? You don't hear that the president is ready to negotiate unless he gets a clean funding bill. And, you know, at this point, we're not seeing much movement.
You're right, and it is so disappointing. Everybody's going to be blamed in this, and it's so unfortunate because we need people to have faith in the fact that this is a strong U.S. government. We want them to believe in the work that we're doing to represent them, but here is the rub, if you will. We continue to offer, we have offered the Senate 12 different funding proposals. We have voted to fund everything in the federal government except the provisions of Obamacare, and with good reason. Then we said we'll just delay it. Then we said let's delay the individual mandate. Then the device tax, and then a string of forwardly, proactively providing funding for vets and NIH and military pay and FEMA, and the list goes on and on. They have refused to meet us at the negotiating table. And when you get to a standoff, Uma, what do you generally do? You sit down, you talk it out. And that's what is fair to all involved. It would be fair to hardworking taxpayers, and they are so frustrated, and I join them in that frustration, and I don't blame them one bit for being frustrated. I think they're justified.
We've been hearing this week that some of your GOP colleagues who may have initially supported having the Affordable Care Act as a condition to get the government funded are now feeling the heat, so to speak, and saying that perhaps maybe they should go with the Democrats and side with the president on just getting a funding bill through without attaching anything to it, simply to get the government open at this point. Is that still the case?
Here's why you have to, and I find it so interesting, they say a clean CR, as if an accountable CR is something dirty or unclean or unholy. Here's what you have to do. Funding bills and budgets are about priorities. With the Affordable Care Act, we know that it started out as an $863 billion access to health insurance program. It has turned into a $2.6 trillion health care delivery system that impacts every hospital, physician, every component of health care. We are talking to our health care professionals, and they're saying you need to tend to this now, address it now before the first of the year.
Do you see your colleagues still holding firm as one as we go forward with each passing day? We're now into day 5, and as this continues for days going forward, do you feel like the GOP is going to remain cohesive?
The American people have repeatedly said, and our constituents repeatedly said, the federal government spends too much. And while we're talking about day 5 of a shutdown, the debt clock continues to tick. We're at nearly $17 trillion in debt. We're borrowing $2 billion a day to keep the doors open. This is about fiscal responsibility and about the long-term effects of too much debt. Government has gotten too expensive. We've got to rein it in.
Really quickly, I've got to ask you, though, we played some of your sound from earlier today about some of the impact that this shutdown is having. We've heard from you and others that priests are being told not to provide mass at any military bases around the country, or they could face arrest.
Yes, and what we were hearing was this was taking place, that type instruction was taking place. So with bipartisan support, everyone agreed that we pass this resolution today that would provide instruction that our priests and our chaplains and our ministers are free tomorrow to be able to lead
So you had
those
to pass
services.
a bill to get that done in the United States of America.
That clarity and that certainty that the First Amendment, that you will allow people to pray tomorrow on these military posts. It is unbelievable. But it's what is taking place during this shutdown. It is so unfortunate, and we are hopeful that the Senate and the White House will meet us at the negotiating table and work this out sooner rather than later.
Congresswoman, excuse me, thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate your thoughts, and it's been a very busy day and a busy week.
Yes, it has. Thank you.
Appreciate it.